All right. What is up, traders? What's up, tycoons? For today's video, we're looking at IOTX. Okay, we're going to be taking a look at the daily chart, and I'm going to go over a few strategies that you guys can use to help be able to understand the price action and understand when things are not a good time to buy and when you should possibly be looking at selling. And then we're going to look at times when it possibly could be a good time to buy and you could be looking to get an entry. All right. Now, none of this is financial advice. It is going to be very informational. We're going to look at the MACD right here. We're going to look at the relative strength index as well. And then we're going to go over the supply and demand zone strategy. Demand zone is going to be these green boxes. Supply zone is going to be these red boxes. And really break it down and show you guys how once you start to combine these things together, okay, then that's going to give you an edge. All right. Trading and investing is like going to battle. It's like going to war. So you need to have the proper weapons and as many weapons at your disposal. And then you need to be able to actually use those weapons and have the knowledge on how they work. Okay. So that's what we're going to learn in this video. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new. We'll jump straight into it. Okay. So we'll start over here. All right. And what we did was we established this area of demand in our token IOTX. Okay, so right here, we can see that buyers are stepping into the market, okay, and pushing the price higher. All a demand zone is an area where there's an imbalance of demand, right? And demand is going to be these buy orders. So there's an imbalance that's pushing the price up higher. Now, a supply imbalance is going to be an imbalance of sell orders that's going to push the price down lower. And then that range in between is what I like to call no man's land. Okay. You're not really looking to enter a trade or exit a trade in no man's land. You're waiting for it to get to those imbalanced zones because everything in between there is going to be noise and it's not going to be very clear, some of the price action in some of the movement. Okay. So we can see, we're starting to show some demand here. All right. We end up falling. And this is where we consolidate and have some nice demand. We push up. All right. And then, we start forming our new supply zone right here. What we see is we see the price action fall straight through it, right? So if you think about it, this is all a live auction market. All right. It's just like eBay. Okay. So people are bidding on IOTX on eBay right now. All right. And it's coming here. And when it drops to these prices, people are like, oh, that's a good deal. I want to buy it. I want to buy it. Right. There's demand. And so the price of IOTX goes up on eBay. Right. And then when you see it come back down, right, you're saying, okay, well, hey, the buyers that were present here in the past, they're coming back in, right? And they're saying, okay, hey, well, this thing is down lower. I'm bidding on it, right? I want to bid on it. And it results in the price driving up. Well, what you see here when it falls through, not only do we get a bearish candlestick pattern known as three black crows, right? This candle, this candle, this candle together is a bearish candlestick pattern, but all those buyers here previously have evaporated, right? They've already bid on it. They've already bid on it and drive the price up higher. And now it's coming back through to these levels to test to see, all right, is this demand still here? And in this case, it's not, right? And we end up dropping and we end up forming a new demand zone down here. And you can see in this zone right here, we consolidate a whole lot. And, there's demand and there's buyers pushing the price up. And we see, ultimately we come back up to this previous supply zone that we had established. Okay. So that's basically how supply and demand is going to work. Now, that's not going to be the thing that gives you an edge, right? What's going to give you an edge is being able to combine some indicators together and combine some signals together to really help give you more confidence in your trades as well. Okay. So if we take a look here using the relative strength index, right, this green line down here is 30. All right. When the RSI is at 30, it's typically known as oversold, right? So we have it green here because you're looking at potentially buying now, right? And you can see right here, we're oversold and ultimately we do end up rallying, right? But afterwards, we end up actually getting a MACD buy signal, right? So a MACD buy signal is going to be this blue line. When you see it cross above the orange line, that is going to be your MACD buy signal, okay? And that's going to be an entry that, hey, the momentum is coming back up and we could be going bullish here. So what we see is that right here, we go ahead and draw our demand zone off these candles right here. We see, all right, we had the sharp move to the downside. We're closing right here. We're wicking down below. There's a little bit of demand underneath. So we have that. Then we look at our MACD and our relative strength index. We say, hey, well, the relative strength index was oversold. There's a potential that we could rise, right? And then we pull back into our demand zone that we just established from right here. Okay, so we pull back into this zone. That looks good. And we get our MACD buy signal. And sure enough, we do have a nice rally. And, that was about a 91% rally right there. Okay. From the lows to the highs of that rally. But how do you know when to sell, right? So you can use the same strategies, right? So we already established we have this supply zone up here, right? And we're looking now at our relative strength index. And we're seeing it's overbought, right? This red line right here is going to be overbought. That's up 70 on the relative strength index. We see that we're approaching 70. We're very close to getting overbought. So maybe it's time to be a little bit more cautious, right? And sure enough, we hit that supply zone. So now we're combining these things together. We got two indicators, two strategies saying that, hey, there's a chance we could get a pullback here if buyers don't flip this supply zone into a demand zone. And sure enough, we do get a nice pullback and we start bouncing back up. And right here, we get our MACD sell signal. Okay. So, we come down, we bounce, we retrace, and ultimately we get the MACD sell signal and we see we have a much sharper drop and a continuation of that drop. And sure enough, we end up coming here into our demand zone. All right, consolidating, really just pushing the price, kind of sideways right here, trading a little bit sideways in this range, right? And over here, we get some more signals and some more indicators, right? So just because something is oversold or overbought does not mean it can't continue to go in that same direction. And here's a really good example of that. So, here we're right about just under overbought. Okay. And that's right here. We do get a tiny pullback, but we continue up higher. Now, remember I said it's all about combining the strategies together. So, we're on the lookout now saying, hey, potentially this thing could be having a pullback soon. It's very near overbought, right? And so we pull back, we hit our supply zone. Okay. And then we pull back, right? And we get the pullback. And right here is where we get our MACD sell signal. So we pull back, we come up, we hit overbought on the relative strength index right here. Okay. And then we get our MACD sell signal right here with the blue line crossing below the orange line. And that's your confirmation that we're going to have some move to the downside, right? Not just because we're overbought. Yeah, we did end up pulling back, but we saw previously that when we were near overbought, we pulled back a little bit just to go higher. So now we have the understanding that, all right, once you see multiple things aligning together, so the first, we hit our supply zone. The second, we're in the overbought territory on the relative strength index. The third, we get the MACD sell signal. So now we have three things indicating that we're going to have some downward pressure. Now, remembering what we said about the, this being an auction, basically, look how long we've been testing this demand zone, right? We tested it over here, we tested it over here, we tested it over here, we're testing it here. And you have to realize these buyers, unless more buyers and new buyers are coming into the market at these prices, those old buyers, their orders are going to get ate up, right? Especially if they're limit orders. Okay, all right, boom, a couple of the limit orders got triggered here. It goes up higher. Those people may have taken profit, or they may be looking to, have some more limit orders fill. We get some more limit orders filling. We get some more limit orders filling. And we get some more, right? And ultimately, all those orders are going to get filled. And unless new buyers step in with new demand, the price is going to drop, right? The longer you test the zone and the more you test the zone, the weaker it's going to be. Okay, it's not going to be as strong because, as I just went over, those buyers are going to be evaporating. Those sellers are going to be evaporating. There's only so many orders. There's not an infinite amount of orders in this area, right? And these areas are where we're getting the imbalances that's pushing it up higher. And if those orders don't continue to come through, you're going to drop through it, right? And that works on the upside too, right? If we break through this level, it's going to be because there's no more sell orders up here. All those sell orders are going to be gone. And now new sell orders are going to be up higher. And in this case, we break through it, right? So we got our three signals to the downside. We hit supply zone, we're overbought, and we got the MACD sell signal. Okay, so three signals together. Now we're combining things together to really give ourselves an edge. And we see the same thing happen again, where we're getting 1, 2, 3 indicators together showing that we could have, a potential move in one direction. So we established a new demand zone over here after the sharp decline, and we broke through that previous demand zone. We start establishing some demand right here. We see that we're oversold on the relative strength index, and shortly after we get a MACD buy signal. So we see the blue line cross above the orange line. And sure enough, we do get a nice little rally up here. We establish a new area of supply up in here. All right, and now so we're going to be looking again to enter in between our areas of the imbalances, right? So we want to enter here or we want to enter here on our positions, whether long or short. And now we've established these ranges. And this, again, all of this stuff is really going to be no man's land, right? Like you can try to scalp some of the moves in between here, but ultimately, we're trading in these ranges and in between these two zones. So again, we come here, we establish new demand. Right here, relative strength index is oversold. Right here, we get a MACD buy signal. So those are three things together kind of indicating that we could have some bullish activity. We do get a nice rally, we pull back, all right, we retest our supply zone, we come back down, we drop down into it again, all right. And if we zoom in on the MACD right here, we can zoom in a little bit more, right? And I'll go ahead and draw a box over here as well on the relative strength index. And we can see, all right, we come down here again, back to oversold territory. We're just right at 30 right here. And then right here, we ultimately get our MACD sell signal or our MACD buy signal right here. The blue line crosses above the orange line. And what do you know? Sure enough, we get another rally, right? So here, oversold, in demand. All right. So now we're saying, all right, this might be a good time to go long. If you're not as confident, you can wait for your third signal with the MACD. So now we have one, we're in demand, two, approaching overbought levels or oversold levels, and then three, we have the MACD buy signal. All right. So again, we're using these strategies to give ourselves confidence and give ourselves an edge. And we see we come up, we retest demand, we come up, we retest demand, and we ultimately zigzag our way back up to this supply zone that we just established. All right. So that's really why we want to enter off of these zones and trade these ranges, because these are where ultimately the imbalances are. And then you can use your weapons such as the MACD and the relative strength index to give yourself an edge and say, all right, well, is there anything else saying we could be going higher or could be going lower? Now, if we zoom over to some of the recent price action, okay, we can see, we just kept zigzagging in these areas. Every time we would come here and hit this demand, we would get a bounce, but we're starting to make a trend here, right? And the trend is lower highs. So if we take a look, we have a high here, we have a high here, and then we have a high here. So we have three lower highs while really just holding this demand zone right here. And so we know, all right, man, we've been testing this demand zone a lot, right? We tested a lot over here, tested a lot right here, right here, right here. We got a bounce over here. We got a bounce here. We're consolidating. These buyers, again, are starting to evaporate through the market. The more time you test the zone, right, the more time that those orders are going to get filled. And the more orders that get filled, the less chance that there's going to be new orders at those prices, right? They're going to create new orders either above or below. And so we can see ultimately we did just break our demand zone here, and we have started trading below it. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. There's a lot of catalysts, specifically the Fed funds rate and the FOMC, raising the rates, right? That has a lot to do with crypto as well, not just the stock market. It affects altcoins differently, but at the end of the day, it does have a large impact on it because there are many institutional investors invested in cryptocurrency. And so, they have to adjust their investments based off of, these interest rates. All right. So if we break down and use our strategies right now, okay, we know we just broke through our demand zone here. Okay. And we see that we're approaching oversold on the relative strength index, but look at our MACD. Our MACD is not bullish. Our MACD is not showing that we have signs that we could be getting a buy signal. In fact, we actually just got a crossover to the downside. So we got the MACD crossover to the downside here. We're pulling back. We are close to oversold territory, but this thing does not look good to start going long. We really want to wait for the MACD to cross back above the orange line. And once we do that, it would be nice to see that if we're near those oversold territories as well, because then we can say, all right, well, IOTX is oversold. So it's got my attention right now. Once I get that MACD buy signal, then I can go ahead and look for an entry. We also need to establish a new area of demand. It's too early in the chart really to establish, right? If we try to draw one here like this, okay, that doesn't really give us much range. It's not much of a price difference from this level up here. So we really need to see, all right, are we just wicking down below? And are we going to come back up and go back into this demand zone? Or are we ultimately going to be, dropping down lower and finding a new place where we establish some demand. And then we can go ahead and your previous demand zones are going to now turn into supply zones, right? So if let's say we establish a new zone down here, okay? We establish a new zone down there, and then we come up and now we have this area that was a previous demand zone. This will now be a supply zone. So we'll change the color of this to red, and we can look for our tools and our strategies to see, all right, if we're in this area here after we've established some new demand, are we going to get a MACD buy signal? Is this thing oversold? You know, what is everything looking at? So hopefully you enjoyed this video. It was a viewer request. I do viewer request every single week. So if you want to see your ticker, your cryptocurrency in the next video, all you have to do is smash the like button and subscribe to the channel.